Hello, MennoNerds. Today I want to tell you that the church is called out. In our last video, Curtis shared about how he used to think about the church as sort of a gathering of like-minded people. And then he shared about what he thinks about the church today. And it was great, fantastic things that he said. And I want to do the same in my video. Growing up, I often assumed that the church was more or less just a segment of society. So for me, my ecclesial identity was really more subverted by my national identity, my racial identity, my ethnic identity. All these things had more value than my ecclesial identity because I just assumed that being Christian was an addition to an otherwise already complete identity, a complete way of thinking, a complete way of structuring my existence around me. So then there was a shift in my thinking. And that's when I realized that the word for church is ecclesia in Greek. And its literal, raw translation is the called out ones. I remember one day just sitting and thinking about that. Being called out of the world, of making the world the world. When I sat with that, it seemed to impress more and more upon me that I need to rethink everything. So in light of that, if the church is the group of the called out ones, called out of the structures of this world, then we need to rethink everything. We need to rethink racial identity, national identity, gender identity. We need to rethink how we structure our society as a society that benefits the higher classes. I mean, all these need to be rethought in light of what the church's mission and calling is to represent faithfully Jesus Christ to the world. My concern when we don't see the church as the ecclesia, the called out ones from the world, is then the message and mission of the church gets co-opted by the dominant narrative assumptions of our society. So we hear the call to love our neighbor. We hear the call to be people of justice and mercy. And do you know what? Sometimes my commercialism or my nationalism can get in the way of that. This is why my favorite Stanley Hauerwas quote about the church is this. The first task of the church is not to make the world more just, but to make the world the world. Now that's a striking quote. And it kind of grabs you, huh? Because at first you're thinking, what do you mean? Aren't Christians called to do justice? I mean, isn't that our calling? But what I think that Stanley Hauerwas is getting at there is our social improvement-itis towards society. What he's pointing there that I think I just want to leave you guys with today is the need to always see the church as an alternative to the expressions of this world, so that when people look at us, they sense that we are living an alternative reality, that we are the called out ones, that we are the ones that look nothing like some of the assumptions that we find in the world. But of course, I recognize that that's easier said than done. That it's easier to say that we're in the world, but not of the world. And so I release and bless you to struggle with that. I'm not sure what that's going to mean for you in your church's context as you discern in community. But I'm going to ask that question for myself, and I'll get back to you guys one day. Be blessed. Take care.